Hey, I'm Alex Wackle from Board Game Co., and this is News and Week in Review, where we're going to go through a variety of news pieces, the Board Game Geek Hotness, the games I played, the videos of the week, all of that and more. I have links and timestamps to everything down below. Let's go ahead and start off with news, starting off with a few collaboration stuff I've done. First of all, we have Roy Canada recently left the Dice Tower, and I'm not entirely sure fully what he's doing. I know he's obviously done game design. I assume more of that will be coming, but past that, we have he's picking up again Favorite Game Fridays, which he used to do, carried over to the Dice Tower, and is now doing on his own over here. So I did a Favorite Game Fridays for deduction games, and also this week you can probably check out the most recent one for gateway games as well, which I chose one of my favorite gateway games that I like recommending. We also have an interview I did over with Zay Incredible. I might be saying this wrong, Zay Incredibles, I think, but this is Zay Incredible. I don't know. Either way, Zay Incredibles over here. I did a bit of an interview with Board Game Co. / GameFound, just talking about the nature of, well, crowdfunding, the nature of Board Game Co., covering things, biases, conflicts of interest, all these different things and more, also on the crowdfunding space in general. I think it's a fascinating interview. I mean, I'm biased, obviously, but speaking of biases, I'm biased, obviously, but I did think it was a really well done interview, and I enjoyed rewatching it after the fact. We also have over here, we have Petersen Games and Quimbleys. Quimbleys, if you don't know already, Quimbleys kind of acquired Petersen Games. They have this whole buyout thing. I think I talked about it in the past, but I've started to finally get emails from Quimbleys who are starting to sell miniatures or sell RPG stuff or sell various things in the Petersen Games universe. So we are starting to see that that relationship, I guess, starting to be monetized in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if you care or don't care. I just figured, hey, I got a bunch of emails this week from Quimbleys, and I'll just let you know that that is a thing now. So, although I am curious, if you have outstanding Petersen games, how outstanding, which ones, let me know. I'm curious how that plays out for you. Hopefully well. Hopefully well. We'll see what happens, though. We have Stonemaier. Stonemaier Games did an article on 5 recent controversies and how to prevent further harm. This covers a bunch of things, some which you may already know about, some not. In the board game space, I am mentioned in one of them, although I don't think mine's really a controversy so much as a handling of a question. But either way, I thought it was a great article to read. I generally think that Stonemaier Games blogs is one of the most informative, just well done, topical / news / good advice in the board game space. Whether you're a backer, creator, publisher, distributor, whoever you are, Stonemaier Games just really does a great job, not just at making games, obviously, but at their approach to the tabletop space in general. From his transition from crowdfunding way back in the day to what he does now, it just has a wealth of advice, and I usually listen very carefully when he says things. I read all his articles. I just don't always share all his articles because I think some are better than others. Although, speaking of which, we're actually sharing 2 this week, which is actually unusual for him. He usually does 1 article a week, I believe. Let's see actually the dates on these. We have the 9th and the 12th. That's 3 days apart. That's atypical for him, and I like both of these. This one is the truth about tabletop game reviewers. Spicy headline aside, the truth about tabletop game reviewers was he sent out a survey to a bunch of reviewers. I got one as well. I filled it out, and the survey just goes through a bunch of questions around different things. You know, what type of content you do. Do you do free content, buy sponsored content? Have you ever been offered to take money for a review for an opinion? You know, of the games you review, how many of them are yours versus things you buy? And he goes for yours versus things you were sent. He goes through all of that, just kind of breaking down the answers in the most common pools. Obviously, there is self-selection bias at play, because some people will sit there and say, well, yeah, of course people said this, and they're answering the questions. You're right. There are a degree of questions, because one of the questions is, how worried are you that saying negative things about products will lead to fewer publishers sending products to review? We have very worried, a small percentage, whatever, 5%-ish or something like that. Not worried at all, 52%, and then 44% a little worried. And so you're like, well, of course, what's the point of that? Is that point that's supposed to prove that most reviewers aren't actually worried about losing access to publishers' games? They're answering the questions themselves. And to answer that, you're right. These are being answered by the people giving those answers, obviously, these are being answered by people who have a bias in those answers. So you should take that into account as you go through this. That said, I still thought it was very interesting. You could write off the questions you don't get value from because of that bias, and some of them I think are just more factual, more interesting ones that are a little less likely to be influenced by bias, but of course, bias is always a thing. Anyways, moving on over here, we have Underdog. Speaking of reviewers and policies around reviewers, I couldn't find the actual article. I got it in the email. I couldn't find it right now, but Underdog put out a kind of a note to how they're handling their relationships with the reviewers. Focusing less on needing to have things by deadlines, focusing on guaranteeing to not cut you off regardless of the content you put out. In fact, guaranteeing to share the content you put out regardless of whether it's positive or negative. I thought it was a really well done article. Stonemaier has a similar approach themselves about how they share, and Jamie Stegmaier says he doesn't watch any reviews that are covered of his games because he just wants to not be impacted by that bias. You either cover things or you don't, and it's always shared and always promoted, and it doesn't affect whether you get covered, whether you get picked in the future. Although whether you cover things influence does affect whether you get picked, but what you say doesn't. So I thought it was good to Underdog to put out a policy around that for reviewers to use or know about. We have Lorcana, a bunch of new games over here. We have Azurite Seas. I love that image over here. Azurite Seas over here. More Lorcana. I mean, no big news over here. Just more stuff for the Lorcana universe. Lorcana is always beautiful, and I always want Lorcana every time I see their cards because I just want all the stuff. I mean, like, Rescue Rangers, like, come on. You're like tugging at those heartstrings over here. Either way, Lorcana Azurite Sea, the newest set of Lorcanas coming out. We have Shallow Sea, speaking of seas. We have Bad Comet Games putting out Shallow Seas. Their last two games have been really well received, and Shallow Seas, I don't know at all about whether this one will or won't, but if they are in any way learning from what works with their audiences or not, there's a good chance that this one is also well received. We also have over here, we have Steamforged. Steamforged has, well, in addition to the fact that they currently have the P3 Paints campaign, although I'm sure we'll cover that in Two Back Not To Back. We also have Steamforged games with Godtear, Dirthax, Branchlord of the Weldon Treekin. Basically just more Godtear content coming out. We have Dirthax, a new champion being unveiled to the universe. And then we have Invincible, the card game. Skybound licensed their IP rights to Invincible to indie boards and cards who are going to be using it in a game that's built off of the, oh my gosh, I do this every single time. Not Aeon's End, but every single time. I always do this. It's going to be, I'll say it here. Astro Knights, there we go. I always remember Aeon's End, and I never remember Astro Knights, even though I prefer Astro Knights to Aeon's End. Either way, they're doing Invincible, the card game, on the Astro Knights version of their game, compatible with Astro Knights 2 in case you want that, although I don't know if I'd mix and match that. This is like, you know, Dice Throne. Like, do you mix your Marvel with your non-Marvel Dice Throne? Because I don't. I keep my Fantasy Dice Throne and my Marvel Dice Throne very, very clearly segregated, and never the twain shall meet. Is that what it is? Never the two shall meet, never the twain shall meet. I feel like it's never the twain shall meet, but I don't know if that's me making up words. But that's what we have. That is what we have as far as game news, which means we move on over to the Board Game Geek Hotness. The Board Game Geek Hotness over here, we have a bunch of titles to focus on as usual, just going through some of the titles in the Board Game Geek Hotness. What do we have over here? We have Castle Combo from Pandasaurus. I may have mentioned this last week. I don't think so, though. But Castle Combo, a new small game from them. It's already on Board Game Arena. I just had a chance to play it a few times last night. I overall enjoyed it. I do need more plays before I give a stronger, more firm opinion. But that is Castle Combo over here. We have Camping Season from the people who bought you Bear Mountain, I think it is, Bear Mountain. They're going to be having another nature / camping / themed game, whatever it is, coming to crowdfunding at some point. We have Ra over here from the Ra Roll and Write and whatnot. That has obviously been the Ra crowdfunding campaign that has Ra Roll and Write, and the expansion Priests of Ra. No. Something, I don't know. We have Puerto Rico 1897. This one currently launched over on GameFound. They have the huge campaign and all that stuff. So Puerto Rico doing fairly well overall. It has a solo mode, which has a lot of people intrigued because that was not originally around. Although, sorry, that's the wrong Puerto Rico. That's we've had this happen last week where there's that drive-by clicking. That's effectively what's happening here. We have drive-by clicking on Puerto Rico 1897. We really have Puerto Rico, where is it up here? Somewhere up here. Puerto Rico 1897 Special Edition is the one that gets the actual clicks over there. We actually had a similar thing happening this week as well with two games. We had March of the Ants Evolved Edition, again, coming up, a 4X game from, oh my gosh, name of the company, Tim Eisner. And then we have March of the Ants getting some drive-by clicking over here. And then we also have Andromeda's Edge, which is delivering. And we have Beyond the Horizon, which I did talk about last week, but Beyond the Horizon, I missed this one last week. I said Beyond the Horizon. I did not realize this is a version of Beyond the Sun. This re-implements Beyond the Sun. So if you like Beyond the Sun, which I very much did, this is going to give you another version, another game in that universe-ish, which is very, very different. Well, not very different. It looks similar enough. But I'm curious enough how this one will play. I think I would prefer this to Beyond the Sun, although I do already like Beyond the Sun, so these are hard choices generally all around. And that is what we have for the news of the week, which means it's time for the games I played. Games I played, as usual, this is a smattering of the games I played. Oops, just knocked my phone over there. Smattering of the games I've played this past week, and to that end, I didn't mentally think about what I actually played. But let's go through a few of these over here. I had a chance to play, what did I play? Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of some of the games I played last night. Not that one. Had a chance to play some Captain Obvious. Captain Obvious is always a delightful game, and it's really become a fallback party game that's just generally a good time for everyone involved. It's one of those games that even when I reviewed it, I'm like, how long is this game going to be good for? And granted, I don't know the answer to that yet. We still need time to see. But for right now, I'm still pulling off the shelf and still enjoying playing that one a decent amount. There's also going to be what did I play? Castle of Burgundy. Castle of Burgundy is another one which I'm continuing to table in preparation for WSBG, the World Series of Board Gaming. I'm continuing continue to play through Lost in Varnak and Ticket to Ride and Castle of Burgundy, all games that I am playing and expect to fully lose when I compete in them in WSBG. Past that, I also played through some Feast for Odin. Feast for Odin is another game that I consistently get tabled, and I consistently enjoy playing it, which is why, like, when I covered Planeta Nubo from Devere, I was very excited about that, because I heard a lot of people did say it's like Feast of Odin adjacent. I didn't get that feeling at all, unfortunately. Like, nothing about it past the fact that it's Uwe Rosenberg and has some polyomino tiles. I was definitely disappointed in Planeta Nubo, but I do still love Feast for Odin and continue to enjoy tabling that, as well as Faraway and Castle Combo, both games that are easy enough to table from Panasaurus, who have continuously been knocking it out of the park for me with these small box game designs. And that's what we have for the games I played, which means it's time for the videos of the week. Videos of the week, starting off with this past Saturday, I had a review go up for A Gentle Rain. I don't actually remember the ratings given. Meg and Ricky reviewed it together, and I don't remember the ratings given, but A Gentle Rain. I like A Gentle Rain. I think it's fine. I prefer, speaking of Panasaurus, I personally prefer Beacon Patrol overall, although I don't yet know if either ones are long-term keepers. Both of them are currently in my collection. We have later on Saturday, we had a review for Rebel Princess. Really like Rebel Princess. I gave that a 4.5 out of 5. I think it's a fantastic game. At least I think that was this past Saturday. I think so. On Sunday we had games added to the collection this September. Just going through a bunch of the games that I played that I'm adding to the collection. Again, some of these are, there's no permanent. Some of these are more permanent and some of them are less permanent in terms of where I think they're going to last or how long I think they're going to last. But if you want to get a sense of the games that I liked enough to add, that's going to be Sunday's video. On Monday we had not this week. Instead we had on Monday we had, what do we have on Monday? Monday we had a comparison of 2023 and 2024's top 10 crowdfunding games, just going over where the crowdfunding space is this year and last year and seeing how it all stacks up. By the way, this year is definitely doing worse than last year, at least as of now, but we'll see how that changes. Tuesday we had a few videos going up. We had a review for Umbrella going up. I gave the one a 4 out of 5. I really enjoy it. I do think it's a little static in terms of what it does, so I don't know about the longevity, but I do enjoy what it's doing a lot, so for right now it's definitely staying. Also, my poor little avocado toast just fell down over there. I don't know when he fell down, at some point in the video. Maybe he started off that way. I don't know. Later on Tuesday, we had a preview for Gems of Iridescia. That's going to be a sponsored preview that Meg did for the channel for the crowdfunding campaign, Gems of Iridescia, where you're wandering around collecting gems, fulfilling contracts, and using tools to your advantages. Then later on Tuesday, we had a 6 small box game roundup review. I'm leaning into more and more of these 6 small games. I just get so many games that I can't give dedicated reviews to because it would just flood the channel with tons of reviews. So you're getting more and more of the 6 small box game series. In fact, I'm starting a new series that will be coming soon at some point, I don't know exactly when, of 5 first impression reviews, where I specifically cover games that I only played once, because something that happens a lot for me is I'll play a game, and again, this goes back to the general conversation of why are there more positive reviews than negative reviews? Why are there more 5s than 1s? A game rated a 1 on the channel is incredibly rare, and a big part of that is I'm just not interested in playing games that I don't enjoy, and I don't want to call a game that I played once a review, and I don't do a lot of first impressions. So I am starting a new series for 5 first impressions, which is to address the fact that very often in my collection, I have I will play a game, and it won't even be a 1, but it's just a game I'm not that excited about. So, and then the second play gets pushed off, and pushed off, and pushed off. And suddenly, before you know it, 7 months have gone by, and I never actually gave it a second play. So 5 first impressions is to address that kind of aspect. When I've played a game, not super excited to continue playing it, and time goes by and I realize it's not getting that second or third play before reviewing it, and so I'm just going to give it 5 first impressions. Although, ironically, I already filmed the first one of the series, and ironically, a bunch of those games in that series I did play already multiple times, but it's usually, to me, the distinction is not necessarily about 1 play versus 2 plays. It's about, do I feel I have enough plays? That's usually the distinction, because it's not always about a second play. It's about, do I feel my opinion is fleshed out enough that I'm comfortable calling the review, or would I rather call it a first impressions? And that's the new series starting on the channel, which is not the point of this segment. I just said 6 small box games happened on Tuesday. On Wednesday we had top 10 spooky games. Basically a top 10 list for myself and Meg, going over our top 10 spooky themed games that we want to play. The most common request in the video, the most common comment of games that we missed out on was the Night Cage. I think was the most common game that we did not address, but for me, I don't like the Night Cage enough to put it in my top 10 spooky games, because for me, they have to be games I also wanted to play. On Thursday we had Thunder Road review, a review for Thunder Road Vendetta. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, Meg gave it a 3. It was, and a lot of the comments, so I very specifically said in the review, because I knew this would come up, I said this is a review of the base game, not any of the expansion contents. And a lot of the comments were like, well, you need the expansion contents. This is not a fully fledged game in the base game. And my answer to that is, I hear you, they sell it as a fully fledged game. In general, whenever a publisher makes a choice, that choice holds up to whatever content is put out around the game. If I review a game based on playing it at 4 players and everyone says, hey, it's best at 2, well, then the publisher shouldn't have put 4 on the box. They shouldn't do that. If the publisher puts 4 on the box, they're asking people to buy this game with the information that'll be playable at 4. And so in general, I do hold publishers accountable for the decisions that they make. If they sell a game, you can sit there and say, well, the best way to play it is with expansions. I have that opinion. I think Zombicide is a game that you need expansions to really enjoy the game to the point that it does. Not all CMON's games are like that. Cthulhu Death May Die, it's a great standalone game, but if you want to play Zombicide Black Plague, you need expansions mixed in to really get the most out of the experience. But ultimately, a publisher is accountable for the choices they make. My review is based off of the base game that I had, and I may play the expansion content at some point. I'm not against it. I think Thunder Road Vendetta is fine. I just wasn't wowed by it. I have a good time while playing it. I also feel like there's no strategy in the game. There's just doing stuff and seeing who ultimately lives the longest. Later on Thursday, we had a review for Rolling Realms Redux. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I think Meg gave it a 4.5. I might think it was a 4.5. I could be wrong. But overall, I enjoy Rolling Realms Redux. I think I would recommend the original Rolling Realms first, but I think they are both good and just more variety. If you like Rolling Realms already, it's more variety. And if you don't like Rolling Realms, if you haven't gotten Rolling Realms, get the original first. And if you don't like Rolling Realms, I don't think it's going to change your mind in any way. And lastly, on Thursday, we had an unboxing for Heroes of Might and Magic 3. There's going to be some preview content and some playthrough content coming on that, but for right now, that was just an unboxing going through the game. The unboxing is not sponsored. Other content will be sponsored. And then later this on Friday, we had the month in review. Month in review for the month of September, going over, well, all the things from August. I guess it's the month in review for August, filmed in September, or whatever you want to call it. Just going through, best games, disappointments, crowdfunding highlights, although there were no crowdfunding highlights. There was nothing in September, nothing in August that excited me enough as far as backing. There were games that were intriguing, but no major excitements on the backing spectrum. We'll see if September changes that. That brings us to today. Today we're going to have a few things. We're going to have a review for Curses and Covens going up, as well as a review for Parks Roll and Hike, both those small box games that are getting their own dedicated reviews, going up later today on the channel. And the next week we'll have a bunch of things. I'll have that 5 first impressions video series going up. I should have the best parts about being a content creator going up, although I may have told you last week that that was going up this week, and I don't think it did, so we shall see. And then lastly, we'll also have 10 games that are worth the upkeep, which again, hopefully, we'll see if I get it filmed in time. But basically, after my review of The Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era, I decided to do a full video on 10 games that are worth the upkeep. Which again, did I tell you last week that I was going up this week? Sometimes I tell you what's going up on the schedule, and then sometimes I realize as I'm telling you that I moved around the schedule and I told you that last week. That does happen. I'm constantly adjusting and arranging the schedule based on things that happen throughout the week, based on things that get filmed. It's usually accurate enough, but sometimes I'm optimistic and things change. In any case, and until next time, I am Alex Radical from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video. I appreciate you being here, and as always, I hope you have a good one. Wait, no, games on the table. Games on the table. I'm sorry. Games on the table. We have, these are some of the games I hope to be playing this week. I assume I'll be playing at least 2 of these. Well, one I know I'm playing. The other, I think maybe 3. We'll see. But I hope to be playing Trail Story, which I've read the rules to. I'm prepped to go. Now I just need to sit down and play it. I hope to be playing Wild Gardens, which I still haven't played multiplayer despite my attempts to do so. I should be playing Heroes of Might and Magic. I'm already mostly through the rules in this one and mostly prepped to go. Hopefully we'll be getting that one played shortly. And then also Project Elite, which this is the expansion box because the other box is upstairs and I just didn't want to go grab it. But I'm hoping to play Project Elite. After going through Cyberpunk 2077, the board game from Go On Board, it made me want to pull out and table Project Elite, which I haven't done in a while, so this will hopefully get tabled this week. In any case, and until next time, I am Alex Radical from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, I hope you have an excellent weekend, and as always, I hope you have a good one.